Redditors age 30 and up. Whatever happened to your high school boyfriend, girlfriend, secret crush? We got married. 4 years later we divorced. 2 months after the divorce he married my high school best friend who was still my best friend at the time. About 4 months after the divorce they had a child together. About 4 months after the divorce they had a child together. Oh, sorry OP. I won't be 30 for a few more months but the story isn't gonna change. He died in a car accident. Same. I'll be turning 30 next year. First girlfriend died when a drunk dude T-boned her. I had a huge crush on her but never did anything about it. She always had a boyfriend. We graduated from high school and remained friends. She invited me to her wedding in 1994, which I attended with my first wife. We lost touch for over 10 years and reconnected on Facebook in 2009. We got married in 2012. I wasn't out at all in high school back in the 80s, and neither was anyone else. There was one other guy who I thought might be gay. He was handsome and kind and was always nice to me, even though I was too shy to really talk to him. I never got up the courage to find out if he was gay too. I always regretted that, and over the years convinced myself that I had missed a great opportunity. I looked him up a couple of years ago. He's the very beloved police chief of a small town, married, with children. He's heavily involved in substantial charity work, and has been honored several times. So, I learned I've got good taste, and that sometimes just crushing on someone in silence is actually the best option. He could still be gay, though. First boyfriend and high school sweetheart. Married him and he's snoring beside me. 2 kids. 22 years together. We both got fat and ugly together. I love the idiot. Stories like this always make me wonder what could have been. After I graduated from high school, I moved to a different state for college and didn't keep in touch with anyone even in social medias. Sometimes, I do miss them and want to see them but never actually pick up the phone. She's sitting beside me. We've been married 30 years and have 3 grown daughters. I am proof that the shy, awkward guy in the back row can get the class sweetheart. She still hasn't figured out that she's out of my league. It would be even better if she thinks you're out of her league too. I really have no idea. He was my biggest crush in high school, and I haven't looked him up in I want to say 8 years. He had pics with a child whom I'm assuming wasn't his, since she was a bit older and I never heard that he got anyone pregnant when we were on high school. He looked the same. I guess I could look him up now, but it's not a burning desire to do so. OP delivers. My biggest school crush grew up to become a coke and H junkie, and have 4 kids with 4 different guys. To be somewhat fair, she had a rough upbringing even when we were together briefly in our teens. Somehow she's still hot as frick though. A good number of years ago she had hit me up on MySpace. Back then, and we started flirting. She sent me nudes. Body was banging. Went to go meet up with her at the place she worked at the time. She took a break. Immediately went in to ask if I knew any guys I could score blow from, and eventually went in to complain about her sister criticizing her for having coke in the house around her kids. I don't know what gave her the impression that I was down for doing blow, and that sort of household scenario, but I pieced the frick out fast. We were friends in high school and after we graduated we moved our separate ways. For a long time I didn't know what I wanted to be for a career so I explored around America with the money I saved up from working at fast food places. One of my last places I went to was a small town in New York. I went to a restaurant and recognized my crush as she was my waiter. We then began to talk. I told her what I was doing and she asked if I had a place to stay for the night. I then told her no, but I did. I then got a job with her at the restaurant and soon after we saved up and went to college for this business. A few years later we are working there with a good income, a nice house and 3 loving kids. And of course married. All my secret gay crushes from evangelical Christian high school became super Christian. Disappointing to say the least. Most underrated comment in the whole thread. He joined the Air Force, got married, had a kid, got out of the Air Force, worked in a job he tolerated for like a decade, taught himself programming, and now works in SF as a programmer. I'm also the girl he married. Downright funny last detail. She's a teacher. and married to a guy who markets expensive machines to hospitals. They have a baby that they named after a character from an Ayn Rand novel. I had 3 girlfriends during high school. Number 1 was entirely long distance. She lived about 80 miles away, and we never did meet up until after I had graduated high school. She met another man online, from Georgia, right after that, and on the day she turned 18, she skipped school to get married to him. The last time I ever spoke to her, she was still married and raising a child with him. We haven't spoken in 8 years. Number 2 was living in a group home when we met. We dated for maybe 3 months tops. She was my first kiss and she took my virginity also. Likewise, she turned 18. She chose to drop out of high school and leave the group home. She popped up about a year later in the town where I was going to community college. We hung out once and she fell off the grid again. She popped up after that hitchhiking in Arizona. She got in touch with me on Yahoo Messenger. Thereafter we lost touch again, and I haven't spoken to her since. Number 3 was during my last semester of my senior year. We stayed in touch for about 3 years or so after I graduated, occasionally hanging out. She joined the army at one point and ended up medically discharged. Training accident, I think. We hung out once after she got back from her base in Louisiana and eventually stopped talking to each other. I saw her brother 2 years ago, and she apparently moved to Kansas City at some point, got married and had a kid. Well, looks like it is my time to shine, but not in such a good way. Always had a crush on this guy I knew for a good deal of my life, but nothing really came of it in high school. On to college. We attend the same college and start to date after our freshman year. He is an unbelievable person, treats me so well, all of my friends are jealous of me type guy. He was on the 5-year plan, I was on the 4 because he liked to party. I graduated, we stayed together, I moved about 5 hours for work and he got into some alcohol related trouble at school. My mother was pressuring me to break up with him because of his immaturity, in that I would not be happy being with someone like him for the rest of my life. I had told her on multiple occasions that he is the one. He finally got suspended from school and he moved back to our hometown and was living back with his parents. Just not really doing much but still partying. So I broke up with him. I made a clean break, never spoke with him again. He would call me daily, write letters, send flowers, but I would not respond. Well, he started a business about a year later. I knew he would be successful, you could just see it in him. He found someone else about 2 years after we broke up. They are married and his business has grown ever since. He also quit drinking about 3 years ago and made his business really grow, and this guy is loaded. I am talking has a private jet loaded. He lives in the same neighborhood as my parents and I see him when I am home sometimes and have said hi to him, and I hear from people, my parents included, about how great of a person he is and all this stuff he does for charities and the community in general. So yeah, I got that going for me. TLDR, dumped a multimillionaire because I thought his life was not on the right track. Well, to be fair, maybe you dumping him was the catalyst behind his success. If you had stuck with him, he wouldn't have become a multimillionaire. I had a huge crush on high school. She knew but wasn't having it. A couple years later she called me up and came over for a booty call. Lamest frick ever. It really kinda sucks because she was the most reliable girl in my spank bank. Who gets a crush for a literal high school? We are friends on Facebook. Has a long-term boyfriend, but unmarried. Has been looking for a job for a while. Seems to be doing okay. We like each other's posts once in a while. Not much else to report. I wish her well. Let's see. I have no idea what happened to my boyfriends from high school. One of my crushes turned out to be gay. He tracked me down on Facebook recently and he's changed a lot from the very religious, adorable, smart guy that I knew as a freshman in high school. He's very cool and really amazing. The other crush died in a motocross training accident about a decade ago. I'm sorry to hear about the motorcycle accident. 30-year-old guy from DC here. Middle school girlfriend still lives nearby. She has a young son. Happy marriage, and is a small business owner. Things look great for her and I couldn't be happier because she's a kind person. We see each other at friends' weddings and big life events like that. High school girlfriend studied criminal justice in college. She deleted Facebook during college because she wanted to try for the CIA and knew it was better to not have a trail of stupid stuff out there. I've seen her very sporadically since then. Hopefully she is a spook somewhere really cool, and the times I've seen her have been when she's back in town from some adventure. Went to college in a different state, did military ROTC, is an officer in the military, got married, has his masters, and from the couple of times I have talked with him seems extremely happy. I on the other hand have more or less been in a constant state of depression since high school over it. Well, to be more accurate, it was the triggering event that started my depression. I am over him more or less. Don't measure your own happiness against his. Besides, I'm sure he has his own demons that you don't know about. It's easy to think that everyone else appears perfectly happy because that's what everyone's inclined to make people believe about them. High school girlfriend. Got fat and is now divorced. She messaged me on Facebook after I got divorced back in 2012. We graduated high school in 2005 and told me how much of a mistake she made when she dumped me during our junior year. She was still married when she sent me that message. As for my high school crush, she's currently her teacher, happily married with a beautiful baby girl. Oh, and me? I've been married for a year and a half and we have the sweetest little 2-month-old baby boy. Boyfriend. He still gets in touch occasionally, usually asking for sex. Still won't come out of the closet though, and insists that he's straight, but I like to be fricked by men. Girlfriend. All I know is that she got into Cambridge University. Secret crush. She came out as a lesbian, and the last I heard, a number of years ago, she was engaged to a woman. That guy is a person in more denial than those people who think the earth is flat. Both my high school girlfriend and secret crush are pretty much the same person today as they were 15 years ago. Neither have changed much in looks or personality. My very first crush came to our small town school suddenly as a child of divorce. Then, just a month or two later, he was gone. I went so far as to sneak into the office and look for his file, but it didn't exist. If my other friends didn't remember him, I'd probably think that I made him up entirely. I vowed to name my firstborn son after him, both the first and middle name, but my oldest sister got pregnant when I was 18 and she coincidentally named her kid that instead. Which is fine because it turns out that my husband and I can't have kids together anyways. My husband was my first boyfriend. I didn't have a crush on him, but he had a huge crush on me. Shortly after we met, I got so drunk, he was 21 and I was 19, that I probably gave myself alcohol poisoning. We mutually lost our virginities, and then I spent the rest of the night throwing up in the toilet. Eventually I passed out, and when I woke up, still on the bathroom floor, he was laying there under a blanket with me. Not the best start, I didn't think, but I also thought, frick, he actually cares about me. I can't just ditch him. I can't remember if I had planned to or not because I was going through a pretty impulsive phase and made a lot of poor decisions on the fly. There's a lot more to the story which is fricked up but cute. Even though it doesn't sound like a healthy relationship, it was, and it is. All of my wife friends are jealous when I don't reciprocate their husband complaints. Nope, mine is the best. He is extremely loyal to only me, and I'd still be cool with another lady friend. And in the span of 13 years I can count the number of times he's left the toilet seat up. He still opens all of my doors, and all of this from a sloppy night of underage drinking. Prettiest girl in my HS was also a cheerleader. She was touted as a shining example because she signed some contract for no sex before marriage, went and got an abortion in secret, having to live the double life, coupled with the decision she couldn't tell anyone about. She obliterated her life with M. Not sure if you'd call it suicide or a drug overdose. She married in her early 20s, 2 kids and now divorced. She's not even 30 yet, still lives in the same town. I happily married late 20s, 1 kid and moved away from my career. We chat on FB once in a while, and sometimes I see her when I'm visiting friends in our old town. No mixing business with pleasure, but I often wonder if I would have ever moved had I tried to build a life with her. About 20 years after I last saw her, she was in pictures a mutual friend posted online. Her looks have held. She apparently likes to dress like a go-go dancer, and may be in a relationship. I'm glad for her, and have no interest in intertwining her life with mine again. Had a crush on a girl in high school that I never had the courage to pursue. Turns out it was mutual. More than 40 years later she found me online and we struck up a friendship. It quickly became an online romance that nearly ruined my marriage until I ended it. It was very hard for me because, as much as I love my wife, I felt, and still feel, that if there is such a thing as one true love in life I may have missed it. Something to think about for those of you who are still kids and trying to work up the courage to try to start a romance with your crush. I'm 48 and sat across the room. Desks formed a circle. In high school facing an attractive tall leggy brunette. Wasn't so much a crush but more of wow she's friggin' beautiful. She was Cindy Crawford. Married the HS girlfriend. Had a kid and then got divorced. Years later reconnected with the HS crush and went on a date. She was still everything I remembered. Problem was I wasn't 16 anymore. I grew up and changed. Still friends and I think she was kinda I wasn't interested but oh well. My first boyfriend used to beat the crap out of me all the time. I didn't know it was wrong cause I grew up in a very crappy abusive household. People in my family would treat me the same. So, years later I find out he is now a pastor at a Baptist church with 4 children. 2 girls of his own. I always wondered if he chose this new life out of guilt for what he did to me. I hope he is happy and healthy with his wife and children. I ended up marrying her. We went to a pretty small high school so our circle of friends always overlapped. To me, she was always drop dead gorgeous and I never understood why her boyfriends treated her like crap. I actually dated her best friend when I was in high school college. Well, we both graduated college, separated from our respective terrible EXS, and I joined the army and when I came home from Iraq I got trashed and called every girl in my phone. Repeatedly. She was the only one who answered and I spilled my guts. All those years we were crushing on each other and we just never connected the dots. He grew up to be a good person, which isn't surprising, because he was a good kid. He became more handsome as an adult, and I was genuinely pleased for him when we saw each other last, maybe 25 years ago at a party. Later, he experienced a terrible loss when his son was killed in an accident. It's probably been 10 years since that, and wherever he is now, I hope he is okay. At this exact moment, he's out to breakfast with some guy friends while I do the morning grind with our 2-year-old twins. Good for him. He deserves it. Twins are a lot of responsibility. She had a massive breakdown during college which ultimately led to her being diagnosed with schizophrenia and being sectioned colon. She's an accomplished pharmacist and kicking butt at life. Still hot as all heck and we barely ever talk. I never made a move on her and she yelled at me for it 2 years after high school. Missed the fricking boat on that one equals. I'm only 28 but we fled our hometown after graduation and road tripped around America. Decided we liked this one city, but we were in Santa Fe and out of money. So we worked in a dessert diner for 9 months to save up money to move to that other city. Finished college a little while ago and we just celebrated our 3rd wedding anniversary. He married his HS sweetheart and started dealing with multiple health issues that eventually led him to being disabled. So he stays at home with their kids and she works full time. He has a tendency to air his dirty laundry on social media, so I'm pretty glad to have dodged that bullet. She went to a fancy college her parents had gone to while I went to the state school. She married someone from said college that had family money and is now producing the next generation of that college's legacy. I'm happily married to the woman of my dreams, have 2 awesome little dudes, and have an amazing life that I wouldn't trade for anything. She posts Instagrams with her boyfriend of 4 years now 247, 365 days a year. I mean that's cool and all that she's happy, but it screams stage 5 clinger. I saw him at a gas station in a city 300 miles away from our high school. He got ugly. I don't use social media so I don't know what became of his life. Our friendship my crush ended badly. Epic high school drama. Because when I summoned up the balls to say I liked her, she told me she wasn't into girls. Turns out she was lying. But hey, what do you expect from a Southern Baptist sexton's daughter? So I, being a wise and mature 15 years old, slept with her best friend. Got to the point where we would literally run away from each other whenever we chanced to meet in public. After 3 years of not speaking, during which I was with the best friend who turned out to be emotionally abusive, I bumped back into my crush. She'd broken her foot and was in a cast, so she couldn't run away. Started talking. She found out what a shell of myself I'd become and helped build me back up. I broke up with the ex. My high school crush moved in. It's been 16 years together, and I'm still lucky as heck to wake up next to her every morning. This is lovely. Reminds me of my fiance and I. We first met in middle school. So much weird drama. Glad we went to different colleges and changed a lot before dating. As she puts it though, we must really love each other if we can remember the other's 13-year-old self and don't run for the hills. Her and I both graduated from high school in the top 10% and ended up going to the same community college for a couple of years. I wound up getting an internship that got parlayed into a full-time position and she wound up going to nursing school after finishing her prerequisites. Last I heard, she's an RN at a major hospital and happily engaged to somebody equally as pretty successful, presumably nice. We both talked about having awesome careers, traveling the world, moving away from our little town, etc. I have been very fortunate to get to do all of those things. She got married at 20, has a few kids, has never traveled anywhere and still works just down the road from her childhood home. I can't help but wonder if she has any regrets. High school boyfriend got a master's in electrical engineering. Recently found out he's adopted 2 kids from Africa with his wife. I'm happy for him. Our mutual friend said he gained like 300 more pounds and has a Facebook default pic of a cartoon sea monster. So I'm guessing he's doing great in life. Dated my high school sweetheart for 2.5 years. He's married with a kid. He seems really happy. From what I can tell on Facebook, we haven't spoken in 5+ years, but not because of any animosity. We're just different people with different lives. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.